year, but the sun's out, blue sky, and very much looking forward to day number 5.
Indeed. Cal, right off the top, he's joined us. He's here nice and early to practice before the heat of the day sets in. He's through to the 3rd round here at Melbourne Park. I speak of the American 19th seed, John Isner, a familiar face here at Melbourne Park. It's great to have you in, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
And in the tournament, 3rd round, big victory yesterday. You got to play Gilles Muller next, who was serving very well against Bernard Tomic in Sydney last week. I mean, the matches, there's no easy matches, are there, at a Grand Slam?
Absolutely not. I'm very happy to be through to the 3rd round. A lot of times for me, it's tough getting out of the first 2 rounds, but I've done that successfully so far, and my next opponent is really a lefty version of me. So the match is going to be it's going to be very difficult. He's won a lot of matches. He's been injured quite a lot as well. So I have a lot of respect for what he's done. He's got his ranking back up and his game back up, and it's going to be a super tough match.
As Brett mentioned, he got the job done in Sydney over Bernard Tomic last week. Have you watched much of, do you watch a lot of the opposition in the lead-up? Did you see that match? Do you learn from that?
Yeah, well, I'm working with a new coach now, and, prior, really the first few years of my career, I didn't watch much film really on myself or on my opponent, but I'm starting to do that a lot more. I was able to get off my court yesterday before Gilles finished his match, and I was able to watch a little bit with my coach. So there's a few things I'm going to try to implement tomorrow. At the same time, I know it's going to be very tough, but I'm just looking forward to the challenge.
John, life as a professional tennis player, for those who are making their way into Melbourne Park today, it's a long season, but there's obviously been adjustments to the schedule to allow the players to have a longer break. So coming to Australia, did you feel refreshed and recharged, and you had the suitable time off, and obviously you've still got to practice and prepare for the season ahead? Yeah,
I felt very refreshed and recharged. It is a tough schedule, but the one thing we do have on our side is we sort of make our own schedule. You certainly can't play every week. There are pretty much tournaments every week, but you can't do that. I know after this event I have about 2 weeks off before my next event. I get to be in the States for a good bit, which I'm happy about. But certainly I took some time off this off season. I spent a lot of time in the gym, quite a bit of time on the court, and I feel strong and healthy. The last few years at this tournament I've been injured, which has been very unfortunate. But this year I'm not, and I'm ready to keep going.
John, one of the themes in the tennis world over the last few years has been where's the next generation of Australians and where's the next generation of Americans? Because as we know, we dominated the sport going back in the 70s and 80s. And you've got the role of sort of following in the footsteps of the great Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi. And obviously there was a talk there for a while. It was just Bernard Tomic filling in after, what we've seen with Leighton and Philippoussis and Rafter. But suddenly this week, it feels like there's a real resurgence. We know about the locals here for the Aussies, but also the Americans. I think 8 or 9 of your women won through yesterday, and you continue to improve.
Our American women are doing incredible, and our men are doing a lot better. I know right now there's only 2 of us left. My compatriot Steve Johnson is still alive. It's pretty neat because he went to 4 years of college just like I did, so it's cool to see players that went the college route doing very well. But we certainly have a lot of women left, and Steve and I are still left, and I have a lot of confidence in him, and he has a lot of confidence in me, and we're going to try to keep it going.
Well, I was going to say, he's been a good success story, John. I remember 2 years ago calling him in qualifying here at Melbourne Park, and he was somewhere in the 150s. And when we watch qualies, it's a hard road to try and get out of that 150, 100 spot and rise, and he rose to number 37 by the end of last year. So he's had a great 12 months, and a bit like our Aussie men sort of inspiring each other. I imagine that's what's happening in American tennis.
No, for sure. I mean, he's probably about 5 years younger than me, but it's good for me. I want guys to be hot on my tail, really, to try to catch me in the rankings. It keeps me going hard, it keeps me practicing hard. But with Steve, what I've noticed, it's all about belief with him. It's really not so much X's and O's and stuff. Obviously he's working on that, but he believes a lot more, and it's showing.
And a little bit like Sam Groth, you rely on your height, obviously, and your serve, and Sam Groth's been the big talking point at Melbourne Park this week. And a late bloomer, a little bit like yourself. You came through the college system. Have you watched what he's done with interest this week and thought, well, that's it, and it must sort of make you sort of proud a little bit to say, well, he's followed a similar path to me. We've done it the hard way. We haven't come through the machine factory that we know, all the prodigies that come through and burst on the scene. Yeah, well, especially for Sam, he's a super late bloomer, as was I, and I think just big guys in general are always late bloomers in any sport, really. It takes time for a guy like me to grow into my body, and I'm 29 now.
but I've only been playing professional tennis for 7 years. I didn't start playing pro until I was 22. So for me personally, I feel like I'm a very young 29. I have a lot of good years ahead of me. But for a guy like Sam, he's improved so much. You can just see on the court. Obviously, he has a serve, but he's improved his ground strokes. He comes to the net and he blankets the net so well. He moves extremely well off the net, and you know, with the way he plays, he should be able to, you know, at the very least, in my opinion, be in the top 50 in the world for a long time.
John, all 4 majors have got a point of difference, obviously. What do you love about coming to Australia and just the atmosphere and the vibe of the Australian Open?
Yeah, the atmosphere is amazing. And the atmosphere at all the Grand Slams are amazing. These are our biggest tournaments of the year, of course, but the fans here are incredible. Last year, the weather gods weren't so nice to us. This year, it's turned around a bit. Now I'm looking forward to a lot of days in the 20s going forward. But it's a phenomenal event. Everyone gears up, you know, so hard, and they put so much time into preparing for this event. So for me to still be alive at this juncture is very important.
And you're the 19th seed here. Do you sort of make New Year's resolutions and give yourself an aim for season 2015? What's the big aim next? What's the next step?
You know, I really don't set too many performance goals for myself. The one thing I can control is how hard I work and how I compete and act on the court. And if I do that to the best of my ability, I have the utmost belief that things are going to go very well for me. So that's what I'm focusing on, and I expect 2015 to be a pretty good year.
John, we've seen here in Australia just the former players really getting involved now and helping the resurgence of Australian tennis. What about back in America? We always enjoyed Andy Roddick here, and obviously Sampras and Agassi. Do they play any part, or do you ever have any contact with the former players? Are they involved in anywhere in the system in terms of the current American players?
Well, I think so for some other players. For me, not so much. I don't really know Pete and Andre that well. But I did when I first came on tour. I was playing a lot, with and against Andy Roddick, James Blake, and Marty Fish. Those guys in particular, I keep in touch with quite a lot. I know all of them are back home watching the Australian Open and cheering us on. So for me, having a guy like Andy Roddick and James Blake and Marty, like on my side and rooting for me, it helps a lot.
And Davis Cup, is Patrick McEnroe still the Davis Cup captain?
No, it's Jim Courier.
Jim Courier, rather. Sorry, apologies for that. But you played Great Britain first.
Yeah,
cup,
we
is
do.
That right? And it's a rematch of what happened last year?
It's a rematch of last year. The injury I had in Australia last year still lingered over into the Davis Cup match. I wasn't able to compete last year. It was a heartbreaker for me. They beat us in the U.S. and now we're returning to fame. Yeah, we're playing in Scotland. Rumor has it they sold out in 10 minutes. Obviously, it's Andy Murray's hometown, rightfully so. He's one of the greatest players we have going right now, and it's going to be a very, very exciting match. And I'm looking forward to it very much. I can't wait for that. But for now, I'm not thinking about it.
John, in an individual sport where you're out there on your own in the battlefield, tell us a bit about your team and the people around you who are part of you for the whole year, maybe with you for parts of the year, because they're such an important cog when you're sort of going from country to country, tournament to tournament, and needing those loyal, good people around you to get you through, some difficult times and the ups and downs.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a very good team in place. I'm working with a new coach this year, Justin Gimelstob, who you guys may know. He does a lot of TV. He's really a jack of all trades, but I also travel with a chiropractor that I've been traveling with for the better part of 3 years now. I have incredible coaches back home in Tampa, Florida, one of which is a Kiwi who travels with me quite a lot as well. So I have a very, very good team in place, and it's really up to me to go out and get it because as I said, I have everything in place, and I feel like I'm doing everything the right way.
We hear tennis players say all the time when they talk about the draw, we only look at the next match and we have no idea who's lurking. Do you know who's lurking if you're able to get through Muller?
I do. I do. I mean, I've seen. I'm not going to lie, but that is the absolute last thing on my mind right now. Gilles Muller is such a tough opponent. I've played him a few times. It's been a while, and they were both really, really close matches, and I expect tomorrow to be really close as well. He serves extremely well. I serve extremely well. So it could be a match where it comes down to just a few points here or there, and it's going to be all about who plays those points better.
I suppose you're getting to the stage of your career, and who knows how long you've got left. I mean, we're seeing guys and girls play well into their 30s. Kamiko Date Krum playing into her 40s, but I suppose at that stage where you start to think about maybe life after tennis as well. Is it a sport you want to stay involved in post your playing career, whether it's coaching, media, mentoring? Is it something you'd like to do?
Actually, no. Believe it or not, I do love tennis. It's given me so much, but I want to play as long as I possibly can. Who knows what the future is going to hold for me? But when I finish, I'll probably honestly stay away from tennis a good bit.
Have a good clean break.
Yeah.
We're seeing Pete Sampras do that. I mean, he's really just, played a couple of little exhibitions. We got him out here last year to the Australian Open, but I imagine it's quite consuming. As, you know, the great part about it is travelling the world and playing in front of big crowds, but I imagine there are times when you probably would like to get out of that cocoon. Yeah, for sure. Traveling the world is so amazing, but at the same time, when it comes time for me to hang up my rackets, which I hope is in 6 years or something, I'm going to be happy and content, and probably won't travel as much. I'll be at home in the States for a good long bit.
And do you get the opportunity while you're here to go out and about and see Melbourne at all, or is it just hotel room, tennis court?
No, I've had the opportunity. I've been to the beach. I went to St. Kilda, and I had I've had a good time. I got here pretty early before the tournament, so I had some time. But once the tournament started, it's sort of laser-like focus. Come on, get in, play your match, hopefully win. Then the next day, get in, get your practice done, go back to the hotel, rest, recover, and just repeat that and try to keep it going for as long as possible.
John, what about if we look at the top 100 of men's tennis, and we always talk about the big guys at the top, and who are the challengers? Who are the ones that are going to start stealing titles off Novak and Rafael Nadal and Federer? Obviously still a chance to win an 18th, maybe a 19th. We're always intrigued about that. I mean, there seems to be a lot of depth in men's tennis. Can you give us your view on how much depth there is and who can really challenge the big guys at the top still? Yeah, well, I think we saw last year that the big four are always going to be there. They're not really going anywhere. But you saw with Stan here last year and Marin Cilic at the U.S. Open that I think other players are believing quite a bit more, and it's good for players like myself, for players outside of the big four to it gave us really a lot of belief going forward, and tournaments like this aren't impossible to win. There's different definitions of success, aren't there? I mean, not everyone can get to world number one, but if you walk away from your career, I mean, being top 100 in a sport that's got 2,000 players ranked, you can walk away thinking, gee, I've been pretty successful. I've made more money than I lose, more matches than I lose, and I've had a good time. It's a pretty successful career. Yeah, absolutely. For me, I mean, honestly, I didn't have any pro aspirations until I was 21 years old, which is crazy, and that's the honest truth. So I always told myself if I ever got in the top 100 in the world, I would consider my career a success. But now I finished in the top 20 in the world 5 years in a row. So I'm very, very proud of that, and I believe I'm going to do that again this year. And obviously, I believe I can go quite a bit higher. Great stuff. Nice to spend some time with you. Best of luck in the third round, and may the journey continue. Yeah, thank you. John Isner joining us right off the top of the 19th seed from the United States. He's out practicing today, and he will be in action on Super Saturday here at the Australian Open. We'll be back with more in just a moment.